Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 300 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack for Business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Franz-Grote from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motivate You Inc.
Today's topic is, how does an appreciative leader really contribute to making an impact on the people working in their industry? Question to the audience, more into what our guest is all about. How can you as a business owner create a workplace where your team feels valued while also improving efficiency and profitability? Our guest today is Roy Barroso. Roy is a seasoned business development strategist and master networker with over 30 years of expertise in commercial real estate and building maintenance. Raised in Ottawa by Portuguese immigrant parents, his multilingual fluency in French, English, Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian allows him to connect effortlessly across these diverse industries and cultures. With a background in hospitality management from Algonquin College and hands-on experience in construction trades, Roy has built a career specializing in textile, environmental, and facility management solutions. His expertise spans strategic planning for renovations, managing complex service agreements, and ensuring sustainable facility operations. A trusted liaison between facilities management and service providers, Roy is known for his keen financial acumen, cost-benefit analysis skills, and deep understanding of regulatory compliance in commercial real estate. His ability to align operational strategies with corporate and sustainability goals makes him a sought-after leader in this field. And Roy, welcome. Good to have you on the show. And do you have a favorite quote or saying, sir?
That has always been through my consultative approach of things. It's all based on relationships, but the language controls the discussions control the relationships, and those relationships then control business and what you get out of it.
And do you have a tagline that you work with too?
I guess mine is unlock sustainable growth and strategic partnerships with industry experts.
It's interesting that you picked the title about being an appreciative leader. What do you see a strong way to define that for our audience?
I think managing is one thing, and when you care more about how things go and who is doing the role, it's better to understand the basis of all the roles and functions within the organization to a degree where you have as much basic knowledge and capacity required to do that job. You may not have actually physically done it, but you've been either in the trenches or around the trenches to understand what it takes to get things done. And you at least put yourself in that worker's, employee's shoes on what their day looks like at all levels, whether it's productivity, their challenges, their demands physically, mentally, administratively. There's so many things. Are there dangers? Are there stress? Are there environmental concerns that contribute to how good or bad their day goes? If you understand that, you are then way easier to lead individuals to be shoulder to shoulder rather than just being on the downhill.
So are you saying, is it company size that makes this more impactful? In other words, if you're a solopreneur or two-man crew or a three-man business versus someone that has a crew of anywhere from 5 to 15 or 20 people, is there a distinction in that space?
I think the fundamentals are the same across the board. They should be all the same. Whether you have 1, 5, or 50, you're just going to exponentially extrapolate how much more you're going to do. And what takes the place of that leadership arm or the other tentacles of the management octopus, those tentacles are all attached. So they're all going to act the same and should, in order for what the tentacles touch at the end of the day, receive the same type of support and education or training or guidance in order to get a hold and get a grip of their objective.
Roy, one thing that just listening to your bio, you started off in hospitality. You're fluent in several languages. What was your journey toward textiles and textile management?
I always say to myself that my career has I've been always very domesticated, and I think all the domesticated traits have always done me right in my work career. I always play the funny where I said, okay, I've been the laundry, I've been the garbage man, and I've been the janitor. The only one missing is now I just need the tux to become a butler. For me, that's the only one missing. You never know. With my acumen and my passion for serving, I may end up there one day. Who knows? But To get to your point, the textile world came to me when I had applied G&K services back in the day, had an opening for an inventory leader, manager, and I took it. And I was there a year and a bit. And G&K at the time was a fairly large textile rental and supply company, service provision throughout the Eastern Canadian, and I think most of the US, to be quite honest. And so I got into that world. And then during some management reshuffle was last one in, first one out. And what happened was that the relationships I had built within that company with the vendors took me into the next textile opportunity with Independent Linen Service here of Ottawa, Robert Poirier and Buddy Steinberg, who were great business operators in that world. And it was a Friday afternoon. I was being walked out of G&K, and my printing provider was coming in to follow up on something I had ordered. And he looks at me and goes, "What do you mean?" And I told my son, "I'm getting laid off." He goes, "What do you mean you're getting laid off? You're the best guy in here." I said, "This is what's happened." He goes, "Never you mind. Tomorrow morning, I'm actually golfing with Robert Poirier of Independent Linen. You'll be back to work in no time, guaranteed." And 3 weeks to the day, I was at Independent Linen, basically running the hotel service. They had a whole big job description created for me to help the organization. I was there 8 years.
That's a really good way to segue. It tells me a couple of things that are happening here. One, it speaks to your networking skills, right? And you're connecting with people. So it's not a matter of you're just another number or a ticket or something. Going through a passport control, stamped, you're legit next. No one's looking to make friends there per se. Independent Linen, how big was that business? How much territory did it cover?
It had a huge territory. It had the greater metropolitan Ottawa area, very west up to Kingston, if I'm not mistaken, up north, right up to Peterborough. Then you had all Western Quebec. And then you had, we actually, last couple of years I was there, we acquired Jolicoeur, another linen service provider out of the Montreal area that took care of the northern Mont Tremblant and ski resort chalet cottage country. I was an integral part of that acquisition because I was able to do not only the actual service, I had a dual or triple role there where I managed the contracts, re-signed them onto ILS contracts, did the service, and maintained any growth and new opportunities up there as well for the last year and a half I was there. But it was very all-encompassing, and the territory was big. The company itself was very healthy, being a locally owned independent business. The two owners did a great job in building that business, and they too did it because of their involvement in their communities. Buddy Steinberg, who was very active and very prominent in the Jewish community here in the Ottawa area, and Robert Poirier, a gem of a man. I just don't know another word to describe him. He was just a gem of a man, a community leader, a networker by trade. He rubbed elbows with all the prime ministers as long as I knew him, and played a lot of golf. He was a member at the Royal Ottawa. He was just community focused, and what he got out of the community, he put right back in.
It sounds like empathy is a key factor. You're seeing it from who you just described from the Independent Linen Services. I guess empathy is a key trait to be a business leader.
I think it's something I have embodied and practiced probably my entire life, even when I wasn't a business person. Even as a worker, I would make sure that I took care of the guy to the left and the right of me to make sure we all moved forward. It wasn't just a all for one thing. It was everybody had to succeed. When I got into the restaurant business and became a line cook with St. Hubert Barbecue back in the mid 80s, that was where I really got my exposure to working on a team. Sports is one thing, but the working on the team where there is defined goals and defined productivity that had to happen, and a certain level of service that had to happen for the reputation to be upheld.
I'm interested. A lot of our listeners are solopreneurs. You spent some time in faculty management. If you run the hardware store or a chain of hardware stores, when do you look for faculty management separate from you? And what are the signposts where that would be better handled by them instead of you?
I think there are experts for everything. If you own a chain or a large enough business where in-house you don't have the talent, you either bring it in on a consultative basis or as a contract to be better. You have to surround yourself with people that are better than you. If somebody's better at numbers, you will get a better accountant and you get somebody who can take care of your money. If you need somebody to clean your facility, If Joe or Bob can't really do a great job, you bring in the people that can make your place look sparkling, so the impression is unbelievable. If you cannot handle your bins at the back for environmental and your garbage and your recycling, then you hire a company to make sure that the proper containers are back there, that it's picked up as many times a week as it's needed, and it's going to the right regulatory space.
One of the things that impressed me, Roy, when we first crossed paths was your ability to assess a space based on the type of space it is. It's all contextual, number of people coming through there. And you're going, yeah, you should have this much cleaning. You serve a little bit of food here. And I think of one of a place we've both been at Hive, right? And we're doing a quick assessment of the space and with the cleanings. Is that the level of expertise where if I'm the guy that just started a business, I'm going, geez, what should I do? Versus a large institution like a school board or a hospital, you already have wheels on the bus to make that happen. Is that the space that you come in? And how do you make what you deliver and at the same time that it fits for the business and the crew there?
I believe what I bring is a different set of eyes, different lens from different facets. And I look at things, and you're right. And thank you. That's very flattering that you pick up on that particular skill set, just because I think it's been in me to understand and walk into a space and identify the dangers. As a child or as a young man, I wanted to be in the police force, and I was always very intuitive and caught things probably way quicker than most people. And I think that's just allowed me to do what I do now in the same type of assessment. I do assessments in my mind way quicker just because I'm looking for how can I help, right? As opposed to I want to change something. Totally different approach. If people want to help, that means they're looking at improving and using what they have first before they bring anything else in. People want to change things, it's just to have their pre-dedicated thoughts that they just say, oh yeah, I use a cookie cutter and I can use this anywhere. And that's really not the case. Every environment has a culture, and you got to understand the culture and who's running it, who's working in it, what the environment is. There's so much diversity out there now that you need to understand what diversity means when it comes to culture in the workplace. For me, that is a big part of understanding how to assess something. It's not cookie cutter, and it's not, there are certain templated things that can work, but to me, once you understand the people that are in the space, you then can help them. You can understand how they work, why they work, are they being led well? Do they have the right tools and resources? Somebody's not going to be able to mop a 3,000 square foot area if it's going to take them 5 hours to do so properly, where an investment can be made into an auto scrubber that can do it in 40 minutes and do just a nice job and give that person all kinds of the tasks to do on the fine tuning. You got to balance those decisions, and you got to assess the situation of what the job really needs.
I had a business relationship with a small donut chain, and they made a really great product. And arguably they were even profitable, but they didn't put any money back into the torn booths, and the paint got tired. How do you put profit in something that's sustainable so that you're better off next year than year end?
I think all you have, if you have repeat customers, is one thing, but all you have is the impression you give every time somebody new comes in. When you have torn boots or a little bit of paint, it's minimal investment for aesthetic appreciation for a client than it is to revamp and redefine and rebrand yourself. You don't need to be doing this. And this is what's happened, is that people have strayed away from their original branding and figure, oh no, we need to rebrand. We need to be more flashy. No, people fell in love with the place because of what you did originally, not because what you're about to do. Take care of what you've done well up to now. What gets you here is not going to get you there, but your look and feel and brand and how people have been attracted to you was the original attraction. So yes, you can polish it up, but maintain that. Hey, Mike, you walk into this donut shop and you're like, hey, this looks like day one. This looks like day one. And they're going to say, you know what? This is why I fell in love with this place. Not because they changed the colors. Now that they got a new logo, now that they got flashy this, now they got all these touch screens. That's not why they came. You go into even just the bigger change is a different story, because they're the icons of the big business, the McDonald's. Right? You walk in now, you don't even have to go see the counter. You just punch in your order into this 4x4 big screen. And after times you get lost in the mix of how many menus you got. But I like talking to people. There are now sit-down restaurants where you don't even see the waiter until they come and ask for your drink order. Everything's on an iPad, right? To me, I was brought in French service, waitering, serving, side table, table d'hôte, guéridon service. I was trained by Branko Miljevic out of Algonquin College, who is still living here, not far from here. And I see him once in a while at the mall. I'll never forget what that gentleman told me in being a gentleman, right? And that started when I was 17 years old, when I started studying hospitality and really found out what the meaning of hospitality was. And that's taken me into every facet of my life, both professional and personal. I figure if you can be hospitable on a day-to-day basis and make somebody comfortable and feel welcomed and serve without looking for anything, you're a good person. And it has nothing to do with how smart and how many degrees are on the board.
I find it, and I'm going to swing back to our previous conversation. It rolls in what we're talking about now. That when you assess an area, and I'll use the cleaning example, you actually look at what has to happen. You already probably know the budget, the labor cost, the chemical agent cost, hardware, I consider, whatever the case is, cloth, etc. The whole cycle, the whole life cycle, that means you can budget it. To Wayne's point, if you're the service provider in that space, you have to leave off so much for, you have your net profit, you have to have so much for replacing the hardware. And I've done those budgets. They're fun. Sometimes you catch everything and you get a really good target. But to make it sustainable, you have to have a sense of how much percentage. So if I charge $1 for something to happen, I know 10 cents has to go to this. I know, what type of percentage do you outline that is to keep that business sustainable? How much should you offset to the side? It's almost like having a reserve fund.
Sustainability is not cheap. That's the first thing. Being and doing the right thing, it's like healthy eating. It's not cheap. You have to buy and use what is required in order for you to maintain sustainability and health. Now, to me, percentage-wise, you can play around with a 10, 15% window of extra funds allocation to be sustainable. That's a given. I'll use that window, and that's a good range. And in most cases, probably more than, I'm being conservative, but it's probably giving you way more room. But it all depends on what the vendor client are prepared to do in order to maintain that sustainable, those sustainable practices. It's got to be reciprocal. So the equal practices between the clients and the vendors have to be aligned, process and protocol, beneficial for both parties, obviously, and cost-effective innovation and development that need to be implemented are going to be key. And everybody's got to drink the same Kool-Aid, right? It can't be just, oh, I want my ESG goals, I want to be stellar on paper, I'll get these awards. But I'm going to really grind my contractor. The vendor is the one who's actually executing for you to meet your goals, right? So products and supply and chain selections reduce the environmental impact significantly because you're using green eco products, you're using recycled paper, you're using diluted methods of product distribution. You can go into an employee and the worker education. It's huge because those sustainable practices and green initiatives are only executed by them. It's the people on the floor. It's the people at the desk giving the deliverable to whatever company you're serving, right? From a big, large commercial property group, or you're in a building of 30 stories and the amount of businesses, if it's only one business, is one thing. You're dealing with one set of initiatives. But in a commercial property that has 20 to 30 different tenants with different initiatives, whatever, they have to all align. But the vendors going into that building, whether it be waste management, janitorial, textile people, the HVAC people, the lighting guys, the window guys, all this stuff, they have to serve the ultimate property manager. So that information has to be well aligned, and goals and targets have to be reasonable, to get your energy reduction, to get your fuel usage reduction, product optimization, keep your labor hours down, but we want to get as much as we can and we don't want to pay any more. So the budget constraints are just as pushy for sustainability goals as they are for anything. I don't want to pay.
Let's look at a chef's jacket. A chef's jacket is a big part of the business. And you want to get the stains out. And if you use too much bleach, you're going to eat the fabric. You have to know what you're doing. You have to learn about textiles and what builds them. But yet you say also in the next breath, golfing with your client, knowing who your competitors are, showing empathy to your staff. These are different skill sets. And how do you become competent in two so very different worlds? Do you have to hire different skills? Do you use different parts of your brain? Do you go from 8 a.m. till noon, I'm Mr. Technical, and from noon till 4, I'm Mr. Cuddly? How do you do it?
I've
Wayne,
never heard the Mr. Cuddly line before.
Wayne, that is the best question I have ever been asked. I'll give you the one-line answer first. There aren't many of us left. That question actually chokes me up. That diversity comes from within. You can be taught to be a leader. You can be taught to be empathetic, but it has to come from within. The energy from within, like you said, you do 8 to 12 here, 12 to 5 here, and then whatever. I walk around with duffel bags of hats because it's a ball cap for this. It's a cowboy hat for that. It's a chef's hat for this. It's a helmet for this. I wear them all day long. For me, that is field experience in regards to loving to work and be around people. That's how I can go to a networking event in my 3-piece and speak to the CEO of Canaxis and have the conversation of growth and productivity and people and whatever else is going on in their business. And I have a fundamental understanding of what the hell he's talking about. And in the same breath, an hour later, could be in a chef jacket, preparing filet mignon for 20 guests in a private function at someone's home because I was asked to give a hand. And in turn, as soon as that's done, come home, get on the horn with my 18-year-old daughter, and she tells me how her biomedical science program is going at Ottawa University. The hats are completely exchanged 24/7. And I'd say what I've been able to do is understand that my capacity is vast. My understanding of people is huge, right? And that I can adapt no matter what environment I'm put into. And I may not be the strongest on paper for certain things, but I go out there and I get the job done and I learn along the way and I'm learning every day so that I can at least be valuable to someone or some organization or myself personally, saying, hey, you can do what is ever laid out in front of you and have fun doing it.
You figure that your background growing up, being able to speak Portuguese, Francais, English, do you feel that, and by the way, kudos to you to be able to speak not only bilingual, trilingual, and that's really good. Do you think that exposure helped you become more versatile? There is some research that talks about kids that have multilingual parents or grow up multilingual, that, it's a boon. So that's a positive. Do you feel that's also been a contributor to your diversity and your skill sets?
I think from the age of, I was born of Portuguese immigrants, and from the age of 10, your life starts beginning. You're in your primary school days, on grade 5 or 6, you start to understand who your friends are, what friends you're hanging out with, what neighborhood you live in. The neighborhoods I've lived in when I was young were all very diverse. I grew up in the Glebe here in Ottawa on 39 3rd Avenue until I was about 10 years old. Then we moved to Little Italy on Elm Street in Rochester. And I looked out my front door and I just basically saw the UN, right? We had Italians, Portuguese, Spanish, German, Haitian, Canadian, like everybody's represented. And we all joined up. When we all showed up at the park, it was the best mix of people you could. I look back at it now and say, I was blessed to have that much diversity in front of me. I was blessed to go to a Catholic school that had everybody in it. I went to Commerce High School on Preston, massive mix of diversity there from the Lebanese, Italian, Portuguese, exposed me earlier to how many cultures live. So when I go back to my own home and I said, I appreciate my culture. My parents brought me up decently with a good head on my shoulders, caring for people and being of service to people that need it when you need it. Treat people the way you like to be treated. If you prefer to be beat up, then you're going to be beating up. Like, you're not going to be any better of a person because you dish it out. You better be able to receive it, in my opinion. So that diversity, it's broken every ice that you can think of in any business transaction that I ever had when I can actually speak the language and understand the culture I'm walking in. I can go deal with Joe's Pizza today and say, whatever service I'm providing, whether it be textile from his aprons and his chef uniforms in his pizza shop to his waste, to the people who's going to come in and clean the place up after he's done. I can deal with it in his language. And the guy is way more comfortable and appreciative of that than if you had to speak to a stranger that would had challenges, that whether it be a language barrier, whether it be an understanding, you don't know my business, you don't know the kitchen, you don't know how intense it gets here. Trust me, I know. That's what has allowed me to be that good of a service provider. I'm not glowing. I'm just saying I like being of service. And if the toolbox allows it, I'll use every tool I have in the toolbox.
Roy, there's a term that a lot of people use that can have legal ramifications, which is partner and unlimited viability and all that. In working with partnerships, how do you treat vendors and clients and suppliers as strategic partners so that you're all delivering a better product rather than just acting transactionally?
That's a great question. There is that gray area where people say, is it a partnership on paper or is it a partnership just because we're buddies? Or is it a partnership because we complement each other's businesses so well that we both advance in the right direction because of that partnership? That's the partnership I prefer to be in, where Mr. Commercial Property Guy will use Al Masso IGP because what I provide complements the talent that he doesn't have or needs to be there because he or she doesn't have it. So by engaging me, they has, okay, you know what? There's a partnership goes around. We walk hand in hand down the same road because we're trying to get to a destination. And there are things that have to happen along the journey for it to happen properly. We're going to get some hiccups and some speed bumps, but we're going to smooth them out. We're going to figure it out because collaboratively, we know we need to get there. It's not a nice to have. It's a need to have. We all want and need and all that stuff, but certain things have to happen. So the challenges have to be met head on, and you need to do it collaboratively. If you're a partner, any partnership that only relies on one side isn't going to happen. If the boot hits the fan, there's blame game. Did we make this decision together? Yes. Are we going to take the blame together? Yes. And if they say, oh no, I asked you to do that because you're the expert. I was like, I'm the expert to a certain degree, but I need your approval. So that means I'm not the expert because I need your thumbs up to proceed. So when those limitations are put there, then the partnership becomes, it can topsy-turvy or it can lean into one side, and people love to blame. People love to say, it was me. You know what I mean? Especially from a consultative perspective. So listen, I know what I can do, but if I give you all the tools and I show you how to do it, and then you don't take it and run with the ball, then you can't blame me because I've created and put things in front of you for you to use so that you, your team, your resources have a better method. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. I just take what I know, find the right resources that complement what I know, and then I put it into practice. And hopefully I've met all the objectives or deliverables that the client wishes to achieve.
Originally, we started talking about appreciation, and it's a whole cultural thing. How do you foster it? And also accountability. You've touched on accountability already, but how do you foster that culture of appreciation? Your accountant does your books right. CRA is not hounding you, and people are getting paid. And you're mapping things up. How do you foster that culture that everybody appreciates, that appreciation stays true?
I'll use a great analogy here. I haven't had a lot of pets in my life. I've had some goldfish, had a dog once. I have a few parakeets and stuff like that, which I love. The best way to answer that question, it's simple. People don't get it, but I just want to clarify. It's no different than when you get a puppy. Culture of appreciation and accountability. Your expectation is what you think accountability is. In the work environment, people are way more receptive to somebody saying thank you than somebody dishing out, I'd like to see this, or I want more of that. So just by saying thank you, not only are you acknowledging that they're doing a good job, but you're offering up their help as well. What do you need from me today in order for you to be better at what you do? And how better can you do it if you're loving what you do? I managed a big sales team in the Eastern Canadian market for waste management for years. And Every rep, both external and internal, got 5 minutes of my day. I would make a phone call to all my exterior reps. The interior reps, if I was in the office, I see them face to face. And most of the time I was on the road too, because I had a very large territory. I could be in Ottawa today, tomorrow in Montreal, and in Halifax. In the same week, I could be in a 3-4 city. And everyone got 5 minutes of my day. How you doing? What's your day looking like? Any challenges? Take care of what you got to take care of, and get on your thing. What do you need from me today? And they would tell me something they needed, or say, no, Roy, I got this. I'm on my way out the door. Go do my thing. And I would encourage and be there for them. And in the internal piece, same thing. If I was able to go and have a one-on-one face-to-face, hey, Melanie, how's things going? Whatever. A lot of calls today, not a lot of calls, a lot of retention. They're getting into new business. Understanding that their days are full of bombardment, especially on an internal and call center environment. You're on the phone all day. You got stuff popping out on screens all day. Your interaction is this. It's not this. They need that. Everybody needs a hug. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody needs a hug every day somehow, whether it be verbally or physically, or you send the energy out into the universe. Everybody needs a hug. Everybody needs to understand that they're appreciative for what they're doing and why they're doing it. And to me, it's say thank you for your effort today. Whether you had a good day or bad day, thank you for your effort regardless.
You were talking about your business journey and how friends introduced you to their friends and made a difference in playing golf, and talking about the power of other communities like the Jewish community. We spent 2 years in a pandemic where we couldn't shake hands, couldn't hug them. How does networking work for you now that we have this digital world?
I've been exposed to a couple of platforms like ESACs, run by a very good friend of mine and the president of Kiwanis Club of Ottawa, Jared Goldsmith. And he's been on that platform for a very long time. He's held that, I guess, that license for a number of years now. It's one of his businesses. And I like it. I like where he brings people together. He's been using it in the Kiwanis platform for a while now, especially with January and having so many people doing their snowbirds, traveling. We've got a lot of those individuals. So it's a way to still keep connected and keep the conversation going. To me, it's always about keeping the conversation going, where some people can pick up where they left off. Some need a bit of refresher, and some people need new content. It's very simple. A few years ago, if I would have thought in my mind to be an online phenomenon, I most likely could have done it. But right, because I need to be able to physically go and sit down with Bernie, have a coffee and talk and blah, 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 and meet up Wayne in this particular scenario and say, hey, you know what, let's share. As we say in Spanish and Portuguese, compartir. Share, right? Share. Because if we're not here to share of ourselves, there's no point. So for me, the networking piece, those platforms are great. But even now, as I rebuild and get back into a better form of business development, the in-person piece, I'm part of the Ottawa Board of Trade. I'm part of BOMA for now 22 years. I've been parts of different BNI chapters over the years, and I keep getting invited because, and not only because of the service kind of provision I do, but just I like being in those rooms. And I'm fortunate enough and very flattered that people want me in those rooms. LinkedIn is great in regards to getting you out there. I haven't been a maximizer of LinkedIn. People know what I do now and what I've done. That track record has presented some opportunities in front of me. And now in this post-pandemic world, people are still on that rush of that type of content. I'm involved with different things. The Ottawa Board of Education to promote their corporate training programs. The Schoolie Mitchell promoting their cost reduction programs that can help businesses tighten up their purse strings and save money where they didn't realize they could. Put forth the effort to connect the loops. I think I connect more loops than anything. Now, to be honest, I'm trying to connect my own loop so that I could be okay for the Lord's going to let me be here for another 10, 20, 25 years, hopefully, so that I can do that for others as much as I needed to do for myself.
So technology changes all the time. Pathogens for cleaning stay the same. People showing up to clean, typically the same. But technology is changing. What are the changes you're seeing now that are influencing either the linen industry, the cleaning industry? And you mentioned BOMA, by the way, that's the Building Operator Maintenance Association. So the audience that does not know, and they're global. What are the technological pieces that you see coming up?
I think people are really centralizing as much as the information flow, right, as possible. So you have a lot of hubs being created, both vendor and client, and then supplier. Operationally, there are all kinds of business flow pieces in the commercial property world. You'll find this funny because it's going to tie into a comment I made earlier about Butler. There is a facility management program called Butler FM. It was introduced to me by a very good friend of mine out of Toronto, Shane Ferris, who's with the Ferris Group. And he's been in the consulting world for the building maintenance and the commercial property world for a very long time. It's probably approaching 30, but very knowledgeable and somebody I respect very much in this industry. And he's taught me a lot, as much as maybe I've taught him a few things. These are programs and platforms that allow commercial property and janitorial maintenance and or environmental services manage what is being asked of them on a contractual basis. And I'll make one little comment. We talked about taglines earlier on the call. For me, the partnership piece and the long-term benefits to the relationships come down to 4 words. And this is something, I will probably take further, either another call or in my own growth of business, is be connected, not contracted.
I'm going to use that. That is good.
As Bernie's layout of today's call came out, I got a lot of inspiration on what I do that makes sense, that I can at least say to you two gentlemen in this type of platform, saying, what makes them tick? Like, really, what to make them tick? Do I know the person, or do I know the business? Right? I can know IBM inside and out. But if I don't know the CEO, CRO, COO, if I don't know any of those gentlemen and women, if I don't know what makes them tick and what their agenda personally, professionally is, and I don't know what drives them to be better at what they do, then I'm not helping them. I'm helping the company, IBM. I'm helping their initiative. But those decisions come from emotional state and their own agendas and saying, hey, I want to get my bonuses here. How do I do that? I bring Roy in and get him involved because he can help me where I don't know things or where I can complement my team and move things along. So be connected, not contracted. Don't just get a contract. I need you for a year. Great. I want to be with you forever. You just tell me how much of forever you need me part of. So connected, not contracted is, to me, huge. And I know this is public forum and everything, but that is something I'm going to work on. And Bernie, you and I will have probably a sidebar conversation on that, because we touched base on this a week ago, where that can go. Because to me, it's very important when it comes to the partnership discussion and technology and what we've been able to adapt in the Zoom world and in these other platforms that help companies keep organized. Don't get me wrong, technology is great and we need it and it makes things faster and proficient, but we're losing the key piece, right? People.
Roy, 2 questions. What geographies do you tend to like to work in? And how do we get a hold of you if it's making sense?
I will go anywhere, Wayne. I'm a humble person. We've all gone through our life scenarios and I'm in a rebuild stage. But if someone believes that my toolbox and skill set can assist them, I have no problem picking up and going, because I'm sure I will feel received and welcomed for what I can bring. At the very least, I'll make a new friend. And if I leave with a friendship, as opposed to maybe something bigger when it comes to the professional side of things, you know what? It's not a loss. You can't consider it a loss. Thank you for that question.
Welcome.
I can be reached on my website, www.almasoigp.com. I'm on LinkedIn, just Roy Barroso. And my email, roy@almasoigp.com.
Thank you to Roy Barroso, Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. If you want to build those authentic relationships, you want to understand more about linen, commercial cleaning operations, hit the BOMA space, or networking events in the Ottawa Valley, reach out to Roy.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, reivih.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayne@motive8u.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter u.ca, or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people. Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert. Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host. Jovan Strika from At Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space. Then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner, and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer: please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.